It is so much warmer. It's literally summer now, as far as I'm concerned. February, being a first week of February in Canada, summer started because it's so different. I can walk without my gloves on. You know, this isn't going to sound like summer to a lot of people, but it's good. And the trifles and the purpled, pickled, and nippled apples that fell from the tree of life and rolled along the concourse. And on that day, it was such a deluge of rain as did wash them to much farther than they'd ever gone before, depositing from their beautiful little corpses tiny little seeds into woodland places that had never met with such a luxury and such a generosity before as to here to begin to accommodate the growth of yet another tree of life, a family of trees of life that would one day become what called themselves the human race. And I wanted to make up a story while I was walking down the road because I just had to occupy myself. Instead of talking to a fake friend, I'll just make up stories like a poem about the conjoined relations of animatronic genitalia imbued with wills and thoughts of their own. Like, hey, why do I want to jump completely into that giant maw? Perhaps I should attach a bungee cord first and fall from a great height. Or perhaps I should just lay here and wait for it to encapsulate me in its glacier-like movement over my entire being. Well, somehow it feels almost familiar, like I've been there before. And I didn't like it very much. But I want to go back to see if maybe I'd like it the second time. Maybe to deposit some seeds so some other poor bastard can see what it's like to live in there for 9 months. And then to be rudely stripped of luxuries unlike any you will ever know again. I hate it. Okay, we're good. You don't know what you're going to. You don't know what you're going to find when you come into the woodland places where the mind can. So having okay. Oh, okay. Chickens. Hi. My mind is filled with the echoes of one of the most predatory humans I've known. Yeah. Sexual predators don't always act upon their own volition. They're schizophrenics. They act by training. They act on impulse. They act at the behest or at the theatrical provocation of other, often very demented, or equally schizophrenic or alcoholic people. And they become like a troop of actors, framing you, gaslighting you, surrounding you, preying on you, building up to a moment of contact where it can be of no mystery that they don't want you to continue living, or at least living in that disposition, or to be breathing even in that place, which they call theirs. And you can pick up any amount of hostile body language, looks, glances, stares, and glares, but no one will ever put it into so many words. This is man at his most predatory, woman at her most predatory. And the most predatory ways that people behave, we understand this clinically. We've known this for 1,000 years. The people involved always think that they're right. You always think you're right when you're murdering, slaying, raping, or eliminating the voice, or robbing someone of their voice and dignity in some public or private place. For any reason, under any pretext. You always think you're right. You always think you should do it. And you've been programmed to believe that by 1,000 years of propaganda. So when I see people saying, hey, get that person, I'm just like, I'm going to go talk to that person. If I was in a group of 1,000 people and I said, that guy, Joe Black over there, he's a fucking rapist, serial killer, we fucking hate him, we don't want to see him. And I'd be like, hey Joe, one day. And I'd talk to Joe. And you know what I'd find out? I promise you, Joe is an above average intelligence. Joe is a natural leader. Joe is actually the most decent person I've ever met. And that will always be the case. Do you understand that? If you understand human society, the people that people like the least are the best people. Now, those people might have problems. They might be angry, right? They might have felt the no contest threat to their emotional, personal, sexual, social, and complete happiness in life. And they might feel it daily, because when it's been meted out to you acutely enough, you can feel it resonate by just about every measure that people call the free world, right? And those people, be they walking down a sidewalk, be they sitting on a curb, and be they have a needle in their arm, and be they just be the many millions of anonymous people of every economic walk of life, right? You will not know their occupations. You will not know their suffering unless you're a true human. And then if you know that kind of thing, you don't walk around saying, oh, everything happens for a reason. We're going to fix all the problems. Just work hard and pray to God. You don't do that. That's fine, you can do that. But you're a moron. Because the real work isn't converting people to Christianity or even handing out blankets and food. Right? The real work is understanding the abstract, yet most violent, practically, physically, sexually, emotionally violent components of the socialization, capitalization, and sexualization of human beings for the last 1,000 years. The sky isn't the sky, the heaven isn't heaven, the hell isn't hell. Left and right are switched, good and evil are backwards, depending on what fucking personality disorder needs it to be that way. And then you got groups of people. Violence is inevitable. In essentially everything they do is violent. Human beings, just in every way that they live, are ready to commit violence. They're ready to justify violence. They're ready to ignore violence. They're ready to tell you that that's not really sexual assault, and that's not rape. And we know better than you do how you should feel and what it means. That's the world that the true leader, the true human animal feels. Okay? If you've never felt that, you're not a leader. Right? You shouldn't lead anything. You shouldn't lead a band of ants from an anthill. You can't lead fuck. It's obvious you can't, because you don't understand reality. You don't understand social realities. You don't understand economic realities. You don't understand power dynamics. And why they're all so dangerous for human beings. Why anyone in a group could have their voice and needs to have their voice. And sometimes everyone has had their voice snuffed out. Just that most people like it. Leaves them with the burden of being leaders. So most people in groups are followers. The weak people always go on together. You want to see the weakest people? Just sound the alarm and see how all the fucking people gathering on the street. Right? When I see a group of people going one way, I walk the other. It's never useful. As soon as humans start getting together because of some crisis or some imminent desire or impulse, you know nothing good is going to happen. Because what do they always do? They lower their inhibitions. They raise their suspensions of disbelief, and they behave and indulge more in the behavior commensurate with the intoxication of alcohol or just plain old denial. Every group, every couple of humans, every two men, women, and children that I meet, right, tell me this all my life. Much less occupations of people bent in service of some laudable, legal, emotional, or spiritual aim. It's even worse, right? The people handing out blankets to the homeless are fucking sexual predators. You could hardly prevent them from wanting to touch and fuck somebody, right? No sooner does the hand want to help you than it wants to fill you up. Or feel you up. Okay, so in the park, I think I left a water bottle out there yesterday, so I think I've got a bowel movement coming. So I'm gonna go do that. Good day. I like to count cool on my enemies. It's important that people know when they've done something wrong. And even though it will be drowned out by years of mesmerizing amounts of justification, psychological legerdemain that should get an Oscar in every human group in the world, and how they're able to play down and ignore the implications of what little violence ever reaches their ears about how they go about their lives or their professions. It's incredible. No humans get together to do anything, and they wouldn't be able to if they weren't indulged in the permissiveness that attends their delivery of various types of services to other human beings. The permissiveness of aggression. Take a sales, right? To do sales, you have to be an aggressor. The salesman is an aggressor. He's a predator, right? A salesman knows the people that have money and the people that don't, just like a thief, just like a mugger. A good salesman knows the people who have money to lose and money to spend. Now, it might be that you need that product. It might be that it's good for you, or it might be that it's not. And it's not really the primary concern of the salesman. As far as he or she is concerned, whatever they can sell you, you need. And they're going to sell you something you need because they need your money. So you must need something from them because you have money. And when the mugger goes down the street, he thinks, hey, he needs a little appointment with you. It'll do him some good. It'll get his blood going because he's got something you need. No one ever needs something from you that doesn't project onto you some kind of need, which you may or may not have. Right? You know, they need to touch you. You need them to touch you. You need them to talk to you a certain way. You need them to treat you a certain way because you have something they want. Do I have something you want? There's something you need from me. You want money? You want? You want something. You want my right to safe courtesy. Is that what you want? So you take my right point. That's something you want. And people can take all kinds of things from you. The salesman, the manager, the worker, right? And you can't complain to anybody. All kinds of things people can take from each other. And they rely upon it sexually, socially. I've met a lot of rapists and sexual predators. They take things from men all the time without any risk of legal action. They do it all their lives. The laws aren't there to prevent crime. They're there to profit from it. And the law as much profits from prosecuting various crimes as it does from ignoring various crimes, right? Which help produce future crimes, right? The crimes of tomorrow and the crimes of today are made up of 1,000 crimes that weren't considered crimes until they became something that could be prosecuted, right? We could be much more responsible for teaching children how not to sexually molest each other, but we don't, right? We want them to become sexualized and socialized. We want them to lower their inhibitions because we know they do this and they wouldn't do it unless you train them to. So you obviously must want them to do that or need them to do that, whether you know it or not. Why must man lose his moral, sexual, and social inhibitions to become part of society if it's a good thing? It doesn't make any sense, right? It doesn't make any sense. Okay, so we walk down here, take a crap sound. Oh, okay. Feels cold. It does get a little colder as you walk towards the river, I'll tell you that. I woke up sweating last night. It's like I had 2 baths, but I guess they weren't hot enough or whatever. Oh. I've been meeting the weird people today. There was a fire down on Memorial, which is basically the Masonic Road. You can smell the smoke, and whatever it is, it probably deserves to be on fire. It's only too bad. I'd like to point out certain buildings I'd like to see burned, including the Church of the Eastern Star and the church across from it. I shouldn't be too specific though, because if they do burn, I'll be suspect number 1. We found your YouTube video. I'm all into evil things burning, and churches, places that rob or steal things from people belong to them. It's not yourself, it belongs to me. And I haven't done anything to forfeit that. I haven't committed anything that would be commensurate with forfeiting. I see. Understand? Are you aware of the project you've written my safety? And I told this manager, I said, the way he was approaching me, the way he was talking to me, he, on top of all the other threats I'd received, were threatening my ability to shop safely, something that I clearly didn't wish to forfeit. And he ignored me. In front of witnesses, he didn't care. Right? He's a psychopath. But what does that matter? You start learning about psychopathy and stuff, it doesn't matter. Anyone can be a psychopath. I mean, they're practically doing the right thing by being a psychopath. You could hardly be mistaken being a psychopath. It's the right thing to do in society, right? But a lot of the people doing the right things to do, as far as many even witnesses are concerned, are complete psychopaths. Right? We live in a crazy world, right? People are crazy. Okay, let's put this down. Fear became nothing. Nothing here. There's nothing. Should fear, attention, fear, respect. I was sexually assaulted by a bus driver a few years ago. And everything at that point on, and many things I'd seen before that, made it clear that how unsafe that made me feel, and how unsafe that has made me feel since, was of no concern to them. And the number of ways that you'll find that white women have of talking to you when they don't give a fuck about you. The number of ways of talking that every single bone in their body is saying, fuck you, go away, we don't give a fuck. Right? But it's not explicitly said. I'm not going to argue with you. Right? This has never happened before. Oh, really? That's fascinating. Right? They can do no wrong. They're in a righteous state of mind. They're victim becomes the perpetrator, right? The victim becomes the perpetrator. And so changing your identity, which really is what you started off as, the original assault. When people are violent to people, they usually consider you someone who has hurt them. Okay? The original assault, the original scapegoating becomes used. You become moved around and morphed into what they or the police project upon you that you are and what kind of person you are. The primary thing I've noticed from the RCMP is that they think they know who you are. What you are is the scapegoat. And the scapegoat is like someone who hasn't chosen a role in the economic industry, in the economic theater of the world. And you might consider them poor people, right? You see someone who doesn't look like they're fitting into a role in society, that's considered a bad thing. And you hurt those people. You scapegoat those people. My mom felt bad about a male acquaintance of mine. I said, yeah, I understand completely. Totally respect your feelings. I would never talk over them. I would never ignore them. So, but my mom herself has been physically and sexually, emotionally abusive to several men, including me, throughout her life, causing hospitalization and death. Do you think that she adequately considers the feelings of men? A lot of women don't. A lot of people don't. Most people don't. Most people can't consider the voice and feelings of every member of this or that social group or the entire social group of humanity. Because it's not social. What is social isn't what you think. Being social is not learning how to get along so everyone benefits. Being social is learning how to speak a language of complete degeneration so that you can seem to benefit and you can start to believe with lots of denial that everyone who wants to have a real benefit from life should behave the way your people do. Society is a psychosis. There's nothing good about society. There's nothing good about it. If you want to really be strict about it, there's nothing good about society. Right? If you want to be strict about it, there's nothing good about the socialization, sexualization, and capitalization of families and human beings for 1,000 years. There is nothing good about it. There's never been anything good about it. It'd be like someone killing your parents and giving you $1 million, the internet, and an endless amount of free porn. And you would say, oh, that's good. No, it's not. It's not good. But it doesn't matter to people. Hold on a second. She's gonna love this. Puppy walking the dog.
Hello.
Hey, how'd it go?
Oh, good, good. That's a lot of beans for that pot, but
Yeah.
they fit.
Yeah, it all fits, right? Yeah, good. I do that all just by sight.
Yeah, I'd say it was a little bit full, but
It'll last me like
good.
a week. That's good.
Yeah.
And I'll just keep cooking
Okay.
it. Yeah, thank you so much,
Yeah.
all right?
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, and there was a little bit of fire on Memorial. There's some kind of fire there.
Oh, there was, huh?
Yep, yep.
Okay. Okay.
All right, well, I'll talk to you
Well,
guys
not
later.
good, but yep. See ya.
Okay, bye. I can hear the geese. Yeah, I'm having a pretty good day. It's my second crap, so number 2. Any lifetime that I've had, I've worked upon this material. we get turned around in history. I've been, I know my last 4 lifetimes, and not meticulously, but I also know what it's like to be a human, just being here, and I know how much people suffer. I really do. They really do. They suffer. If I sit here and say, "Oh, I suffer and I suffer, I suffer," you say, "Well, I don't suffer as much as you do," but it's like people do. Some people talk about it more. They express it. Poverty that you see on the street is just poverty made visible. It doesn't mean you're seeing all the poverty. You're just seeing the tip of the iceberg in what is poor about human beings. Every poor person in the street, you're looking at generations of degenerate psychopaths. Degenerate. Because the brain, before you're born, is rendered schizoid. It's split in half. Right? And part of the brain, jumps into like, this is everything that I need to be now and learn to emulate about what is right and wrong so I can stay safe from this world. And the rest of your brain goes down under. And that's the part of you that tries to keep your breathing and your blood flow and all that stuff. Deeper, emotional, but also a range of intelligence that remains dormant for most human beings, except in moments of sporting, excitement, athleticism, crisis, danger, maybe sport fucking, or whatever. But they're not really, like you put yourself under crisis essentially and under risk in order to draw from them. And what you find is like if you have enough trauma or you're sick enough of the world and you start using your voice in a kind of athletic or obsessive pursuit of truth and that type of thing and beauty, you can start to access that deeper mind without becoming a sports star, going to work, or risking your life necessarily any more than the risk, which are often quite deadly, commensurate with speaking. Speaking is the deadly sin. The world gives you a voice and say, "I need Jesus to die for me," when you're born. Billions of Christians believe that when you were born, your first words and the full and most important meaning of your little heart and your little twinkly toes and your eyes, and like, "Ooh, I like having a mommy and daddy," is, "I need to murder a Jewish 33-year-old man as though he's a 3-year-old child every year until the end of kingdom come." That's what all Christians believe a child is said. They believe that their first mother and father are brother and sister. But they don't see that as a problem. You see how stupid people are? Right? The Bible is full of perversions. It's right in front of you, but it's not explicitly said. It is right there. That's amazing. The difference between what you're saying and how you're saying and how it feels to me. I need to know shit. What have I said that makes you feel? Why would you even recognize that? The only person that's safe here is me. Understand? For my safety, push up here. And this woman has an issue with that. She did that. She was responsible for herself. What happens is that human beings are, a psychopath behaves as though their brain, oh fuck, I don't know why that's like that, sorry. They behave as though their brain is paralyzed, which ostensibly for human beings it is. So people can seem like your best friend or this, and all of a sudden it's like their sense of right and wrong has suffered some kind of paralysis. As soon as a crisis or a slander or some sort of twist in the fabric comes in, now it's like everything's backwards. The person that loves you hates you. The person that's supposed to protect you hurts you. The person you trust lies to you. But when they lie, they're telling the truth. But when they tell the truth, they're lying. And everything seems twisted. And now the parasitical nature of the mind is projecting itself into you. Because now your role is subject to being morphed into one that is asking to be filled with parasitical information. Which, unbeknownst to you, whatever the social circumstance and provocation, is something that groups of people need to do throughout the year. Right? And so every financial enterprise, every group of people, essentially, is always fucking its clients. Every organization has to fuck its clients. If you have students, you're fucking them. If you have clients, you're fucking them. If you have children, you're fucking them. Humans are organized in such a way that this violence isn't just something that has to happen on such and such an acute level. By the time the high tide comes in, the tide was always coming in. Even when it's going out, it's coming in. You know what I mean? It's going to happen again, right? So there are tides of violence that move through groups of people, which means that all of their behavior could be seen as a behavior that, taken to its logical conclusion, makes violence inevitable. Now it becomes really important, not just what people say or see or think, but what they don't say and what they may be unable to think about. And sure enough, these types of concepts lay far beyond the ken of most people, especially people who are educated. Because their education, as much as it has given them certain knowledge or ability or status or money, has retarded them at the same time, and is meant to, right? It's like the Bible. It's like Adam and Eve are brother and sister, but it's implied, but it's never overtly said. Their entire education is a form of passive aggression. They look at a world of people who are uneducated and poor, and they think, oh, poor them, right? I'm so glad I've got my special language, my special education, because I'll be safer. And who knows, maybe I could travel to the poor districts and I could make them safer. And I could teach them the knowledge that I've learned from my precious schooling. Right? And well, you're called at that point the professional douchebag. And your douchebaggery is known all over the world. Right? But these poor people, be they Mexican or Spanish or English or French or Taiwanese or Cambodian or African, Chinese or any place in the world who have any kind of native grasp or some sort of surviving aspect of their original primal mind, which is dislocated before birth, before anyone comes out of their mother's vagina. Take a break.